We now return to our main characters, still on the boat. Okay, so not much is happening there. I mean, even Thorfinn saw some sea monsters on his journey. Well, thought he did anyway. Or at least talked about the idea of the world being round. Well, at the very least, the Berserk cast isn't as stuck as those guys over on the Black Whale. How you guys doing? You got any of those new chapters? No? Tagashi? Boat arcs, I tell you, man. So since this isn't going anywhere, how about we zip on over to the mainland to see what's happening there? This is actually a perfect opportunity in the story to take a break from Guts and crew and to continue the world building. Yes, we have an awareness that ever since Ganishka's death, the entire world has merged with the astral world, but what is the full extent of this? The sea god showed us that ancient beings are awakening, that monsters have by and large been unleashed upon the unsuspecting world. A world that has painstakingly spent the last 1,000 years specifically being conditioned to forget about such magics. Humanity's ties to that of magic and the fantastical world was at an all-time low, causing an all-time high of fear when it came to thinking about such things. And as fear manifests, so do the creatures we fear. To be honest, one of my favorite aspects about Berserk was the slow build of the medieval story into a full-on fantasy. We start in a grounded, understandable world in the Golden Age arc. Fictional, yes, but if you have a general awareness of Europe in medieval times, you can at least understand the concepts that were at play. And we slowly usher in more and more of the fantastical concepts as time goes on. A little bit of demons here, elves there, some trolls, and then a full-on magical spells and barriers and giant sea monsters. I spoke at one point that there's a portion of the fan base that dropped out or lost interest of the series once it delved into the more fantastical and magical elements. I'm not going to sit here and say that they're stupid or that they don't understand the complexities of this brilliant literature masterpiece. It's just a matter of taste and preference. But what works for me was the gradual incorporation of these elements. It's not thrown at you all at once. It was 34 volumes before the world was overrun with mythological creatures, and now at the tail end of volume 37, we are actually experiencing what life is like as a consequence of this. And what does it look like? It looks like a giant cock. But wait, before we get to that, some carriages are being chased through the forest by a horde of trolls, and we all know how bad they can be. From the back of the carriage, a character sets up a crossbow mechanism very similar to the one we've seen on Guts' arm. And there in the carriage, we are reintroduced to my boy, Rickert. Rickert, the youngest member of the former Band of the Hawk, who has literally not been seen since chapter 182. This is currently chapter 332. That is 150 chapters without this character. Rickert, though being a member of the Band of the Hawk, was not present during the eclipse. He is unbranded and free from the sacrifice. He then became a bit of a pupil for the blacksmith Godo, becoming quite the craftsman himself, making Guts' crossbow and arm cannon, as well as single-handedly making the graves for all of the fallen Band of the Hawk members, but I'll get to that a bit later. The important thing to remember about Rickert is that he went years without knowing what really happened to the Hawks. It wasn't until Griffith showed up at the Hill of Swords that he witnessed Guts' rage towards him. After the battle and when Griffith chose to depart, Guts finally told Rickert the truth, just how much that he didn't know. He might have left out the details about Casca, I'm not sure, but Griffith's choice in the sacrifice, the God Hand, and the Apostle Massacre was all revealed to him, making Rickert one of the only characters that knows what happened on that fateful day. Puck was there too, as Guts explained, filling in the gaps of what he had already sensed, but all of Guts' current crew know nothing about his relation to Griffith or the horrors of the eclipse. Rickert stands alone in this role. And why the separation between Guts and Rickert? Why is he not with the current boat crew? Well, you have to remember at the time that Rickert and Guts split up, Guts still wanted to take his journey alone. He knew that both he and Casca were branded and that the nightly visits from demons and spirits, it wouldn't be safe for Rickert. And mostly wouldn't be safe for Erica, which is Godo's adopted granddaughter, who is traveling with Rickert and has no fighting skills and would need to be just as protected as Casca. So Guts wasn't ready to accept others into his journey. But most importantly, Guts didn't believe Rickert could go against Griffith the way that he had. Once again, Rickert wasn't there. He could hear the story, he can believe the story, but he didn't witness it. He didn't have to watch the ones that he cared about be torn apart or eaten, or even worse. There's an innocence to Rickert that he has not gone through the traumatizing experience the way that Guts did. Now, yes, I know Rickert did see some members die at the hands of the Count and Rosine, but the extent of walking up to the end of a massacre and being smack dab in the middle of one while trapped in a hell dimension is still quite different. Also, I imagine Guts wanted Rickert to hold on to that innocence or what was left of it. He didn't want to force Rickert to join him in this world of darkness and vengeance, and it's why he went alone the first time, and why he didn't bring Rickert the second time. So Rickert was left to travel alone with Erica to try to find someplace safe for them to live. And it looks like that has not been achieved, because right now there is a giant cock looking at them.
Pecker!
This is a cockatrice, and I'll talk about that in a monster manual someday. Just know that it's a bit of a dick. It's then when Rickert and Erica notice a group of human soldiers emerge to rescue them. Soldiers with flags that Rickert immediately recognizes, almost identical to the former Band of the Hawk banners that he once flew by his side. The big cock seems to be a little bit too much for them to take, and that's when Irvine steps up to the plate. In one of the coolest apostle transformations, he holds out his bow, and with the powerful aura surrounding him, he transforms into his full demon form, plucking a hair from his tail to use as an arrow and using the antlers in front of him like a bow. Now, I won't make any jokes about this being a dick measuring contest between a big cock and this, but I'm sure someone in the comments can post a good one, and I'll pin it to the top. Irvine's arrow now stabs into the cockatrice's mouth and then explodes needles outwards and takes the creature down. And then there was much rejoicing. All except for Rickert, one who knows what an apostle is and wonders why on earth there is one here working with humans, protecting and saving them. Rickert was aware that Griffith had rebuilt the Band of the Hawk and that they were defending Midland against the Kushans, but now he sees the extent of what that means. The apostles, the things that killed everyone that he cared about, are now working for Griffith, the man that he once looked up to the most. Laban is also here with his group of soldiers, and Rickert recognizes him and shows him the old Band of the Hawk crest that he keeps with him. Laban may not specifically remember him, but he remembers that version of the Band of the Hawk that won the 100 Years' War all those years ago. And Laban graciously wishes to escort Rickert and the others back to Falconia, the only place conceivably safe from the monsters running rampant on the world. On the way back, we see the landscape of how giant crystals protrude from the ground surrounding the kingdom, surging with powerful energy that supposedly ward off evil creatures. I'm not sure how I feel about the validity of that. It may be that the powerful energy radiating does dissuade them, or it could just be for show and is actually the power of a god hand that they sense that keeps them at bay. The biggest deal, though, is the World Spiral Tree. What was once Ganishka's Shiva form is now locked in place and illuminating white. I think of this like a giant power source connecting both of the worlds, the physical and the astral. A battery, if you will. Even the two legs twisting around each other kind of symbolizes the merging of two worlds. And his arms are now turned into the spiral tree branches, which literally branch from the top of the tree and across the entire sky, like tunnels or a highway for fast travel. But of course, not just anybody could use them for travel. But we have witnessed one character do it so far, the Moonlight Boy, which explains his disappearance. And there's more specifics about who can use these branches for travel and what this tree is all about, but for now it's kind of left as a tease for what's to come. We are being introduced to how the new world works, though, through the eyes of a character that, like the audience, knows the truth. It's great because we are seeing things explained to Rickert through people that are happy and excited about their savior and how they believe the city is a sanctuary and how they think the tree causes their harvest to last year-round, and how gracious Falconia is to take in all of the refugees. We see the amazement and we understand why people would be happy about this, but because it's Rickert being introduced to this, we feel that uneasiness because we know that he's not going along with the entire idea, but is keeping his mouth shut in order to understand what is going on. It's good writing and a good use of the character. Also, the pure vastness of Falconia is pretty incredible. This is the first time we are truly seeing it in the manga, and Miura just does his work to show how gigantic this place really is. The architecture, the inhabitants, and just everything. I can't imagine how long it took to draw all of these buildings and all of these people. Laban drops Rickert and Erica off at an office where they can become registered as citizens of Falconia, but not before handing Rickert two important pieces of paper. a letter of recommendation for blacksmith duties, and a letter to get him into the castle for an audience with Griffith himself. Knowing that he is a former Band of the Hawk member, Laban only thinks it's natural that he should reunite with his leader, unaware of anything suspect. Rickert takes the paper, but unsure of what he should actually do. I mean, imagine being dropped into this, seeing the world of peace, safety, and unity, with even Kushan and Midlanders living in harmony together, and knowing it all came about due to the deaths and betrayal of all your friends. But then, holy shit, it's Luca. The person in charge of setting up lodging in this area of Falconia so happens to be the prostitute with the heart of gold from the Conviction arc. She even has a group of girls with her. Well, minus Nina, thank God. Let's just hope Joaquin finally kicked her ass to the curb somewhere, if they both aren't already dead. But this is great. Berserk has had a lot of amazing side characters, and the unfortunate thing is, many of them we never see again. Rickert was kind of a main character, but let's be honest, he was much more of a supporting role back in the day. Luca was a huge part of the Conviction arc and everything that happened at the Tower of Conviction. She harbored and took care of Casca, helped Guts infiltrate the tower, and was courted by my man Jerome. Wait a second. Where the hell is Jerome? They broke up. It's mentioned somewhere, but I'm still not over it. Look, I know Jerome was a bit of a simp, but he was still a total badass, alright? He killed 2 pseudo-apostles with 1 sword swing. I'll never forget about that. He even quit his job in the Holy Iron Chain Knights to help Luca rescue her friends. And now he's nowhere to be seen? Okay, so maybe he was cheating on his wife with a prostitute, and maybe he wasn't the smartest tool in the shed, but man, I miss that son of a bitch. But at least we have Luca back. And having her cross paths with Rickert is a really fun idea, as they both share an experience with Guts, but know nothing about one another. But she isn't the only character we know brought back in. Daiba is here too. Miura really is merging all these different worlds and eras together. If you think about it, we have Rickert from the Golden Age, Luca from Conviction, and Daiba from Millennium Empire all meshed together here in the Fantasia arc. Now, if we could just pull somebody from the Black Swordsman arc in too. Where's Theresa at anyway? She's still got to kill Guts, right? Anyway, Daiba is working in the stables, keeping a low profile, and only subtly using his magic to help calm the horses. And again, Rickert has no clue who this old man is, no awareness that he likes to float in the air smoking some hookah while summoning giant water snakes. The next day, Rickert begins his trek towards the soon-to-be-crowned King Griffith. To say the structures leading to him are massive would be an understatement. We are talking about multiple Titanic-level huge here. And all that's running through Rickert's mind right now is how things used to be. The original Midland capital castle no longer exists. All these structures built over the ashes of what once was. He meets with Owen, whom Rickert also recognizes from back in those humble days. And this next part is really interesting, as Owen takes Rickert into an area where dozens of people are mourning the death of loved ones, surrounded by holy imagery, priests, and even the pontiff himself. What is happening is a mass funeral for those that did not make it to Falconia before being killed. And this becomes a transcendent moment, as before their eyes, Griffith himself arrives and performs one of his miracles, showcasing his divine authority. Griffith brings out the souls of the dead, and allows them to say goodbye to their loved ones before passing on, even using Sonia, his medium, to translate any lost communication between them. Now, we've seen Griffith do something similar to this before on a smaller scale, and there are some theories that it's all an illusion, that Griffith isn't actually bringing out the literal souls of the dead, but I believe he is. My personal theory, and remember, much of these videos are just my interpretation of the story and not meant to be taken as 100% fact. But what could the purpose of Griffith holding these gigantic funerals to give people closure be? It's not like he has to do them. He's a busy guy running a gigantic kingdom, so what's the benefit here? So I hold on to the theory that the Holy See religion was part of the plan of fate and causality brought by the God Hand, or the idea of evil. And I think it kind of goes like this. Step 1 is disconnecting humanity from the world of the spiritual and positive beings like the elemental kings, elves, and whatever else. That leads into step 2, which is to create an organized religion that gives people only one way to think, and one way to view spirituality, and failure to follow and disobeying results in brutal torture or burning. Step 3 would be to plunge the world into chaos with plague and war. Step 4 would be bringing about a prophesized Christ-like figure that everyone would latch onto and follow towards salvation. And step 5 is that Savior gives you not only proof of life after death, but also puts you at peace with the idea. It'll subtly eliminate the fear of death to not have to just have faith, but to know for a fact that your soul will live on. This will persuade people to be more accepting and comforting of death as a whole. Do not fear, for when you die, you will be whisked off to paradise. Put this on a large enough scale, when the eventual idea is presented, you will have an entire gigantic city of people that all collectively believe the same thing, that dying is okay and that they will accept their death. There's no need to fight against it. There's no need to struggle. And when a mass collection of thought is brought about, combined with the desire to end their human suffering and to go to a land of peace, this is when I believe the final step will take place. Step 6. Assimilate all life into one mass collection of energy, the abyss. Humanity's purpose will be fulfilled by all of them being unified in a collective mass where individuality is destroyed, and they will finally end and fulfill all of humanity's desires. It won't be a sacrifice like the other ones. It will be a mass self-sacrifice. I believe they will give themselves over willingly without knowing the extent of the cost. But hey, that's just my little theory for now. I could change my mind in a week. But I think that we can agree that this is very much a part of the plan, and very much a part to push as much of humanity into a particular direction and mindset as possible, swaying them little by little, like a devil whispering in your ear, but instead it's a God showing them the light, and to a point where no one can defy his authority. As Locust states walking up to Rickert, this is the divine right of kings, meaning an authority from God that you cannot deny or defy. Locust, being aware of Rickert's former relation to the human form of Griffith, wishes to show him something about the current God-Hand version. Rickert agrees to go with him, and they head out back of the castle to an area conveniently separated from the front of the city, a place where no human can see, a long bridge leading to a giant black sphere shrouded in darkness, and thankfully it's not a Gantt sphere. But back in the city, Erica is still hanging around the stables, to which there is a rumor that Daiba keeps a monster in one of them, but of course he won't let anybody in to see it. Erica does notice, though, Daiba's weak legs, and retrieves a brace from the carriage that they came in. A great little moment to remind us of how Godo's craftsmanship was taught to and progressed by Rickert, and she also mentions that her grandfather Godo made a massive sword, and both Luca and Daiba have this great moment where they recall Guts, but of course neither of them knows that the other is thinking the same thing. It's a great little moment. Back inside the sphere, which is actually a Colosseum, is a mass collection of apostles that sit in the stands and watch one apostle battle with an ogre. And yeah, apparently this apostle has a name, and it's fucking Borkov. And this is in fact meant to be the same apostle that consumed Guts' arm during the eclipse. Miura decided to bring him back and give him a name. I can only hope this is to set up Guts ripping this dude in half someday. But anyway, Rickert is of course mortified at watching this. He's seen an apostle before, but nothing on this level. And as Locust explains, it is because of Griffith that monsters like this, and himself, have a purpose other than to mindlessly indulge. Locust wants Rickert to realize that whatever sacrifice Griffith made to get to this point justifies the reality of the people at peace, of humanity fighting as one, of demons used as soldiers. Something has been achieved unlike that which has ever been seen before. After the funeral session, Griffith and his closest allies relax in a beautiful garden area. Charlotte is here doing her best to please everybody, bringing them tea and sweets. The Pontiff is here as well at the table, alongside Sonia and Mule, while Sonia continues her subtly snarky comments towards Charlotte, still jealous of Charlotte's relationship with Griffith. As well, the Pontiff mentions that he has yet to marry them and crown Griffith as the king. Even though everybody seems to see him as the king already, the ceremony has not taken place yet. And I can only imagine that perhaps this is because that event will be used as a massive plot point in the upcoming story, maybe for what I was talking about earlier. A good way to gather everybody together, I suppose. But I am shocked that it wouldn't be one of the first things that needed to happen, considering how the world of mankind is set up. But I'm also glad it wasn't skipped, because I feel like it's something that we need to witness. And at last, Rickert is brought forth for his audience with Griffith. Griffith excuses himself from the table and makes his way over to him. Rickert's mind filled with confliction, seeing the prosperity of the city and the miracles performed, and the horrors of the demonic entities, and knowing what happened to the Hawks, what Guts went through, and here he is, face to face with the man, or the thing, responsible for it all. Griffith speaks first, asking Rickert if he's found his answer to what Griffith had said to him on the Hill of Swords. When leaving, Griffith specifically told Rickert that even if he learns the truth, if he still holds the same dream as Griffith has, he will have no cause to refuse him. Remember, Rickert isn't branded. Griffith already became a God Hand and accomplished what he needed to. There is no animosity towards Rickert. There is no sense of him being an enemy. Why would Griffith need to hate him in any way? He got what he wanted, and now if Rickert wants to join him still, all the better. The past is done. And so what will it be, Rickert? And Rickert says, nothing. Rickert pimp slaps the shit out of Griffith's stupid face harder than a can of Twisted Tea. You just got slapped, bitch!
What is this feeling that's put you in your place? A hot red burning on the side of your face. I just got slapped across the face, my friend.
The slap that echoes through eternity. And I think it's a testament to the story of Berserk that just a single slap hypes the fandom up so much that we as the audience want karma to catch up with Griffith so bad that even the smallest hit makes us scream with joy. Imagine how we're going to react when real damage is done to Griffith. But regardless, there is a bit of controversy here about how or why Rickert was able to smack Griffith. First of all, there's the fact that Griffith should be fast and strong enough to block or evade this if he wanted to. And we also have it stated towards the beginning of the Millennium Empire arc that things from this world of man can't seem to touch or harm him in any way. There was a time where he was attacked with dozens of arrows, and they all seemed to miraculously miss him. There could be several explanations for the slap being so effective. It could be that Griffith just let it happen, knowing that it wouldn't really hurt him, also allowing Rickert to have that tiny bit of catharsis. Giving the people what they want is what he does after all, so why not? Does Griffith feel any remorse? No, he doesn't. But what harm to the overall objective would there be to get bitch slapped a little bit? None, really. Why start a confrontation? Just let it happen and move on. But there's also the more spiritual theory that Rickert had such a solid conviction within his heart that he was able to follow through with smacking a God Hand. That absolute belief that Griffith deserved it, and so it happened. Just as Guts' own belief in his ability to cut down apostles helps enhance his sword, and how Shirke and Farnese give themselves willingly to the astral world of magic, a complete alignment of intention with no restraints. But whatever the reason is for it, the important thing is that it happened. It showed that Griffith can be hit, and it showed that his thrall of a God Hand does not work on everybody. Unlike Mule, who was brought to his knees upon first meeting Griffith, Rickert stands tall, rejecting this false idol. Rickert shows Griffith the Band of the Hawk crest, and notes how the design is slightly different than the current one. How it was Rickert himself who made the graves for the Band of the Hawk, the one who mourned them. The responsibility fell on him. He did what this Griffith could not, and he tells him that his leader was Griffith the White Hawk, the human who built a mercenary team from the ground up, not the Hawk of Light, not this divine being thriving from the sacrifice of others with no guilt. As Griffith stated before, his heart was frozen during his transformation. All that remains is the idea of Griffith, just the ambition and a dream inside of a Griffith suit. This is not the man of whom Rickert respected. And because of this, Rickert turns his back on him, saying goodbye and prepared to leave this sanctuary for good. Rickert, the character lost to so many chapters, has one of the most triumphant returns I have ever seen from any character. And that's going to do it today, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you very much for supporting me in these videos. I hope you guys have a wondrous New Year's Eve. It's going to be 2021 soon at the time of recording of this video, so I hope next year goes a lot better for you. As far as I can say for me, this year, at least in the YouTube world, has been very, very fortunate for me, and I'm very, very thankful for all of you guys supporting me, liking my videos, sharing them. You know, anytime you show your support, commenting below, whatever it is, thank you guys so much. It really does mean a lot to me, and I don't take it for granted. And I want to keep giving you guys the best content that I can provide, and I'm trying my best. And so I just wanted to say thank you guys so much. I hope you have a wonderful new year. Other than that, hopefully big things coming next year, and I can't wait to get them out to you. So take care, guys.